Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. Inside today's video, we're going to be drafting up against the Yahoo pre-draft ranking, so it's going to be a lot like we are drafting on Yahoo inside of today's mock draft. The roster positions are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex kicker defense, and 6 bench spots. Now, the main goal of these mock draft videos is to really talk you guys through my thought process as I make each and every single pick throughout the draft, as well as discussing the other picks that are going on in the draft, whether I like them or not, or maybe if I just feel like the draft is going per usual, and this is something that you guys should really be expecting going into your 2021 fantasy football drafts. But before we get on in to this mock draft, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship on Monday. Next week is when we start the week 1 content, so please make sure you continue to watch throughout the season, because I'm going to be trying to help you guys out as much as possible so that you guys can really win your 2021 fantasy football championship. I would also appreciate that whether you're new to the channel or not, if you could hit the like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to let you guys know that my rankings are available for free. Link down below in the description, as well as in the pinned comment, as well as the fact that my articles are also linked down there. So please make sure that you guys check out the articles, as well as my rankings. My rankings are available for full PPR, half PPR, as well as for standard. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot. The 12th overall spot in a 12-team league is personally my favorite spot to draft from, because I feel as though I can get 2 great players on the 1-2 turn here at the 12th and the 13th overall spot. So the draft begins with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, and Jonathan Taylor. In a majority of drafts, the first round is going to be dominated by the running back position. That is to be expected. Basically, every single time, only about 2 to 4 non-running backs go inside of the first round in a 12-team league. And if you're drafting in like an 8-team league or in a 10-team league, I've seen the whole first round be running backs. But in a 12-team league, a majority of the time, you're going to see probably a receiver or 2 and Travis Kelce go inside the first round. Now, sometimes Travis Kelce does fall into the second round, which would be the case in this mock draft if we do not end up taking Travis Kelce. So looking at the board here, a lot of running backs are obviously off the board. Wide receiver, Stephon Diggs is still available, so one of my top 3 wide receivers is still available. Looking at running backs, I like Austin Eckler a lot, but besides that, I'm a fan of Antonio Gibson. I like Najee Harris. I like Joe Mixon, but at this draft spot, I'm not looking to draft Antonio Gibson or Joe Mixon. My draft selection here would be either Austin Eckler or Najee Harris. Now, I have not really drafted Najee Harris too much in these mock drafts, because normally I'm not in a position to get him. A lot of the time, I'm seeing Najee Harris go off the board at the 1-2 turn pick where we are right now. A lot of people really like the rookie hype of Najee Harris. Now, in a lot of years, these rookie running backs get so much hype. People are beating the drum aggressively for a guy like Najee Harris. Now, not necessarily Najee Harris, because he just got drafted this season, but a rookie running back. They clamor for him, and then he ends up kind of shitting the bed. Last year, we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, for all intensive purposes, didn't have a bad rookie season, but where people were expecting him to finish, he ended up being a complete and utter swing and a miss. But this year, with Najee Harris, I feel a lot more confident in asserting the fact that I believe that Najee Harris does have top 12 potential at the running back position. While the Pittsburgh Steelers are not some run-heavy attack, I believe a potentially lower kind of rushing attack will be mitigated by the fact that Najee Harris is going to be seeing a bunch of dump-offs in this offense. And James Conner obviously struggled last year behind a bad offensive line. This offensive line in Pittsburgh is not much better than it was last year. If anything, it may be even worse, if I'm being honest with you. But Najee Harris is also a much more talented running back than James Conner, so even with not so hot of an offensive line, I think Najee Harris will still be able to get it done. So we are going to go ahead and go with Najee Harris and Austin Eckler at these turn picks. Now, normally, I would go ahead and go running back and wide receiver, but in these mock drafts, I always try to tell you guys that you want to experiment with different things. You want to try out different things, and here, we're going to go ahead and get Najee Harris and Austin Eckler, going with a 1-2 punch at the running back position. The reason why I like Austin Eckler so much is because this guy really isn't going to get 200 plus rushes on the season. That is just not in the cards for Austin Ekeler. But what is in the cards for Austin Ekeler is a season with potentially 100 plus targets going his way in LA for the Chargers. He looked very, very good last year once Justin Herbert, the pervert, took over for the LA Chargers. And Austin Ekeler has looked very, very solid in the past. I think he's an excellent pass catching running back, and he is the clear #1 running back on the team. So it's not like he's not going to be seeing any rushing opportunity, but the real bread and butter for Austin Ekeler's game is certainly his receptions. After I went with Mr. Austin Ekeler, aka Mr. Clean because he's got a bald head, we got Stephon Diggs coming off the board, followed by Antonio Gibson, Travis Kelce, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Darren Waller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The third round begins with Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Carson, Patty Mahomes, David Montgomery, George Kittle, DeAndre Swift, James Robinson, and Mike Evans. So if you guys can tell, the first round, like I said off the rip of the video, just dominated 50 Shades of Grey style by the running back position. Then the second round, then things start to get a little bit more spicy. More receivers come off of the board at that point. You see a lot of tight ends come off the board. And then typically in the third and fourth round is when you see just a barrage of wide receivers coming off of the board. Now, if you want Darren Waller at this point, if you're drafting this weekend, I'm just going to tell you guys that if you really want Darren Waller, to just take him at the end of the second round, because that's where he's going at this point. It used to be that this guy was a locked and loaded third round pick, and I was super excited to get him at that price. I'm fine paying the second round draft capital for Darren Waller, but there's a lot of leagues where he's not even going to make it into the third round, like we saw in this mock draft, seeing George Kittle also go at the 308, Patrick Mahomes at the 306. I talk about this kind of in every single mock draft, but I will advise you guys to please not take a quarterback in the first 4 rounds of the draft. I would much rather wait until the 5th round and maybe get Kyler Murray. Sure, maybe Kyler Murray won't score as many points as Patrick Mahomes, but in my opinion, he has just as good of a shot to finish as the #1 overall quarterback in fantasy football as Patrick Mahomes. And in most drafts, you're getting a 2-round discount on Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson when compared to Patrick Mahomes. So we are back up on the board here. Now, a lot of people will point to the fact that, hey, Nick, both of your running backs are on bye in bye week 7. And hey, Nick, do you look to kind of change your draft strategy based upon the bye your players have? The answer is no. The only time I'm ultra concerned about bye weeks is if you're drafting 2 quarterbacks, because obviously you don't want both your quarterbacks to be on bye the exact same week. Same thing goes with tight end. If you're talking running backs, receivers, it doesn't matter. Trades happen in fantasy football. Players get hurt. All types of things can happen to your roster. You're cutting a bunch of players on your bench, adding new players because things don't work out. So by the time it's bye week 7, our team will look very different when compared to what we have on draft day. So I don't really look too heavily into the bye weeks, but bye week number 7 is going to be a killer this season. There are so many teams on bye that week. So we're back up on the board here. Got that double pump at the running back position here. Looking at other running backs, we got Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, Myles Gaskin. Now, the Mike Davis hype train that I was all aboard might be needing to be pumped a little bit because they bring in Wayne Gallman. Now, I don't think Wayne Gallman's going to make Mike Davis irrelevant, but it does worry me way more than it did when it was basically just Mike Davis there. That should make sense to you guys. Again, I'm not running away from Mike Davis. I'm just telling you that, hey, maybe you want to be a little bit more cautious at this point, and I think his ADP will react to that news. So looking at the board here, we're definitely going to go with a wide receiver. I like Hawkinson, I like Andrews, I like Kyle Pitts, but inside the 3rd round, that is a very big reach in my opinion. So here, looking at receivers, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson. Now, normally at this spot, I would take Robert Woods, but I always kind of preach the diversifying of your teams. Now, Nick Arcolano used to say this in all of his videos, and it's one of the most true statements you can talk about in fantasy football. It's just switching your teams up. So if you're in the 3rd round, at the end of the 3rd round, typically you go running back early, or maybe you go double wide receiver and you're looking for your 3rd wide receiver. Don't draft the same wide receiver every single time inside the 3rd round. Change it up a little bit. I like Robert Woods a lot, but I also think Amari Cooper could easily be a top 12 wide receiver in a pass-heavy offense in Dallas. Obviously, a lot of people are really pumping up CeeDee Lamb, and for good reason. The guy is an amazingly talented wide receiver, but Amari Cooper could still be the #1 target there and score more fantasy points, and you're getting him at a solid discount here inside of the end of the 3rd round. The 4th round opens here, and we have all bye week 7 at that point, but that's the lucky number 7 anyways. If we were at a casino, I'm pretty sure if you hit the slots and you got, maybe it would be 4 in a row. Yeah, probably 4 in a row. You'd make some solid money here. So let's look for a player at bye week 7. I'm only fucking kidding, guys. But next up here on the board, we got Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson. Now, if I don't get Deontay Johnson here, he's probably not going to fall to me inside the 5th round because we are still 23 picks away from making that 5th round pick, but we are also 1 second away from making that 4th round pick. But before we do it, please make sure if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far through the first 10 minutes of this mock draft to hit that subscribe button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. You will as well, because I'm going to try to help you guys as much as possible to win your guys' leagues. So we are going to end up probably drafting Robert Woods at this spot because I do have him ranked highest on my board at the wide receiver position. I think it's a reach to take any of these running backs inside of the 4th round, and I'm definitely not going to take a quarterback here. I have been really talking up Robert Woods all offseason. I really believe that in LA with Matthew Stafford under center, the upside for Robert Woods is so much higher than it was with Jared Goff. I liked Robert Woods a lot last year with Jared Goff. I like him even more with a much better quarterback under center in Matthew Stafford. So after we went ahead and got Mr. Roberto Woods, aka Bobby Trees, aka just his real name, Robert Woods, we can see Chris Godwin come off the board, followed by Josh Allen, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Gus Edwards, Brandon Ayuk, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts, Lamar Jackson, Adam Thielen, Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Kyler Murray, Chase Claypool, Mike Davis, Damian Harris, Odell Beckham Jr., Jerry Jeudy, and Darrell Henderson. So in the 5th round, just like I said, you could wait instead of drafting Mahomes, and then in the 5th round, you can get Kyler Murray. You can get Lamar Jackson. In the 6th round of this draft, you may be able to get Dak Prescott because on a lot of drafts right now, people are starting to panic. They're starting to wet their pants a little bit, get a little bit nervous about Dak, and Russ is going ahead of him at this point, which to me is fucking stupid, but that's just how the trends of drafts are going. So the 4th and the 5th round, just absolutely bombarded by the wide receiver position. We do see Damian Harris come off the board, who is a player I like a lot this offseason. I think Damian Harris as the clear lead back in New England with Mac Jones under center is going to be chef's kiss. Beautiful. Josh Jacobs here at the 410 is one of the dumbest picks you can make, in my opinion. Gus Edwards, there was news today that came out that they wanted to bring in Royce Freeman to Baltimore. If they bring in another running back, that's not the guys that are behind Gus Edwards right now. I'm not going to go full-on panic, but if you're drafting him in the 4th round, you are really hoping for something that may be a complete and utter swing out of and a miss, in my opinion. So here at the 5.12, looking at the wide receivers, we got Juju Smith-Schuster, Robbie Anderson, Jamar Chase, Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay finally back at practice. He's finally back at practice. Praise the fantasy lords. He's finally back. Maybe he's going to have that top 24 season I was talking about. I did kind of retract a little bit over the last week because he wasn't back at practice, but now that he is, I'm a lot more excited about Kenny Golladay. So here, we're probably going to go tight end and running back. I like Dak Prescott, but in the 5th round here, that is the draft price you got to be paying for Dak Prescott. I'm just not really trying to do that at this point. So we are going to get a running back here before all things turn to hell, and it is a true coin flip with a lot of these running backs. In my opinion, Myles Gaskin is the clear lead back in Miami. Obviously, they're going to use Salvon Ahmed. Obviously, they are going to be using Malcolm Brown, but Myles Gaskin is the lead dog there, and I believe this Miami Dolphins offense is going to be very, very good in 2021, and that's going to really open the door up for Myles Gaskin, who was basically a top 12 running back when he was the lead running back last year. After that kind of Jordan Howard and Matt Breida fiasco ended in Miami. So here we are going to go with a tight end. Now, Mark Andrews is a player that I'm starting to open up to a lot more. With all the injuries that are happening in Baltimore, it seems like Mark Andrews may be just getting fucking force-fed the ball. In 2019, Mark Andrews was a tight end that I talked up to the oblivion. He was a swing, and it was a fucking home run out of the park, out of the stadium, out of the universe. He hit that shit directly to Mars, and it was awesome. But last year, he was a swing, and he wasn't a miss. It wasn't a miss, but it was like, he just got to first base, right? It wasn't something super special. So I like Mark Andrews a lot this year, a lot more now, knowing with the injuries that are happening in Baltimore. I still like TJ Hawkinson more, but again, I do advise that you guys kind of change things up in draft. So we are going to go ahead and get Mark Andrews here inside the 6th round because I have not really drafted him in any mock drafts because prior to recently, I just thought he was another tight end that I have inside my top 5, right? Just another guy that I'm not ultra excited about. But now, the more I think about it, the more I like Mr. Mark Andrews. After I went with Andrews came TJ Hawkinson, Robbie Anderson, Javonte Williams, Dickie, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Tyler, Boyd, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd in the 6th round. Wowzers. Jamar Chase, Logan Thomas, Justin Herbert, Trey Sermon, Kenny Galladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Kareem Hunt, Aaron Rodgers, Antonio Brown, Cortland Sutton, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Ryan Tannehill, Deebo Samuel, and Jalen Hurts. These are the running backs that I'm talking about where it starts to get confusing. I think Javonte Williams is a very talented player. I think next season he's going to be the lead back in Denver. But right now, I genuinely believe that Melvin Gordon is going to take away enough work to where Javonte Williams is going to be a swing and a miss inside of his rookie year. If Melvin Gordon was to get hurt, though, chef's kiss. Javonte Williams is going to be very, very good. He does look more talented, in my opinion, than Melvin Gordon. It's just kind of how Vic Fangio runs an offense, how he likes that 1-2 punch at the running back position. We saw it with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay in the past. So we're on the board here. A bunch of quarterbacks are already off the board, so we're definitely waiting at this point. You're not going to want to reach up into the 7th round and take a guy like Matthew Stafford when I'm pretty sure every team aside from myself right now has a quarterback. Let's check it out. Click on the buy roster here. This is why Fantasy Pros is clutch with it. Yeah, we're the only team without a quarterback, so we're pretty good to wait at least, I would say, 2 to 3 more rounds because eventually there is a point in drafts when people just take 2 quarterbacks. Even if I fully disagree with this strategy, doesn't mean that your league mates aren't going to just start hammering in on a second quarterback. So you got to be a little bit cautious with that. So right now we got 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers and 1 tight end thus far in the draft. Very, very balanced. Michael Carter was a running back that I was a humongous fan of just a couple of weeks ago. I still like Michael Carter, but I think his path to becoming the lead back may take a little bit longer than I previously perceived. Now, does that mean you should be fading Michael Carter? In my opinion, no. But what it does mean is to be a little bit more cautious. And in the 7th round, I don't think I'm willing to draft him at that price. So looking here, if we were to go with at least 1 running back, Ronald Jones would be one of the picks. Looking at wide receivers, Brandon Cooks. Corey Davis has just skyrocketed up the draft board. This was a guy going in like the 11th, 12th round. In a lot of fantasy drafts, he may still be falling that way. But in this draft, I know probably there's a 99.99999% chance that he doesn't end up falling my way inside the next round, but I still like Devonta Smith more than him. I don't understand why Devonta Smith is the wide receiver number 40 off the board. I don't get it. But I think Corey Davis realistically is the safer bet because while he's on the Jets, this is not the Jets of the past. Zach Wilson is just locking onto him. But Devonta Smith should be the wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia. But there's more risk because I'm not 100% sold in on Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. So it is pretty fucking confusing on what you might want to do here, whether you're trying to go safe or go a little bit risky. You could also just go with the double pump at the wide receiver position here, which is perfectly acceptable as well. So we are going to go, I think, with the double pump at wide receiver. We're going to first go with Corey Davis and then go with Devonta Smith after that. I also like Will Fuller a decent amount. He will be suspended for the first game of the season, but after that, I think it's all wheels up for Will Fuller. So our next pick will be Devonta Smith here, who should be the wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia. I understand he's a bit risky, but he is my wide receiver number 4 on my team, so I'm perfectly fine having that. So we have 3 running backs right now, 4 wide receivers, so we should be looking to get a running back in around the 9th or the 10th round, or maybe just go double in on the running back position on this turn. So after we went ahead and got Mr. Devonta Smith, we see Melvin Gordon come off the board, followed by Brandon Cooks, DJ Chark, AJ Dillon, Michael Gallup, Will Fuller, Laviska Shenault, Ronald Jones, Mike Williams, Leonard Fournette, Zach Moss. The 9th round begins with Marvin Jones, James Conner, Michael Pittman, Jamal Williams, Jarvis Landry, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown, Sony Michel, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Meyer, and Kenyon Drake. So we're back up on the board here, and we're probably going to go with potentially double running back, but maybe just a running back and a wide receiver, depending on the value that is on the board at this point. Looking at running backs, Michael Carter, Nyheim Hines. Now, this is the point when I'm fine taking Michael Carter. His ADP has reacted to the fact that this is going to be a big committee, that he is in the back of the committee, but I still really am in the camp that believes that Michael Carter is by far and away the best running back on this team. And he's going to fight his way through it and become the lead back. That's my standpoint on it. That's where I'm going to be taking him as at this pick. There's also been news today, as you guys are watching this, of Nyheim Hines getting a very involved role in this Colts offense, which was already obvious. I don't know why magically maybe people needed to hear that to believe it, but Nyheim Hines was very, very involved in the receiving game last year in Indianapolis. Marlon Mack will potentially suck up a little bit of that, but I still think Nyheim Hines is a very valuable player with or without Jonathan Taylor in the offense. So he's not some super high upside pick. Like, he's not going to finish as a top 10 running back, but when you're in the 10th round, the 11th round of the draft, you're not expecting to draft a top 12 running back unless basically everything goes your way, right? Unless the lead back there was to get hurt. Now, Latavius Murray has been completely bent over the table and just fucked by the fact that for some reason, they don't want to commit to him as the running back to New Orleans. Now, of course, it's not going to load for me, right? Why would it do that? He makes the 53-man roster here. There was a lot of talk about him getting cut. Tony Jones might still be pushing for the role. I don't understand in what world that Tony Jones is a better running back than Latavius Murray, but I guess that's how the New Orleans Saints feel, which to me makes no sense. But I guess I'm not Sean Payton. I'm not there watching the practices, so what do I know? So we're going to have to go ahead here and do the electric slide onto the left side of the screen so you guys can see the draft board better. I'll also tilt my chair a little bit so you guys can see it clearly. So after we went ahead and drafted Nyheim Hines, came Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, Tyler Higbee, Marquez Callaway, Mecole Hardman, the Rams defense, Michael Thomas, Washington football team, Phillip Lindsay, Elijah Moore, Devontae Parker, Robert Tonyan, Cole Beasley, Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant, Mike Licky, Ahmad Gesicki, Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Gage, Henry Ruggs, and David Johnson. David Johnson is one of the most interesting picks at the end of the draft because right now this is just a full-on triple man committee. Ingram, Lindsay, Johnson. Johnson seems to have been relegated off of being the starter like he was last season, but he's still an interesting pick, in my opinion, later on in drafts. So, here we go. We're on the board here. Got a bunch of running backs on the team, a bunch of wide receivers. Still don't have our quarterback. At this point is when I would take my quarterback. Now, there is a chance that no one takes a backup quarterback, but what I would say is that a majority of leagues you guys play in, if you're playing with your friends, your family, if you're playing with your coworkers, a lot of the time, people are going to take double quarterback. Even if they drafted Mahomes in the 3rd round, they're still going to think, oh, I need to draft another quarterback, which makes no sense. Because you're never going to play that guy over Mahomes. You just never will, so there's no need to draft him. And then you know what you do on his bye week? On Mahomes' bye week, you just cut someone and add a new quarterback. It makes very little sense to me, but people still do it. Unless you're in like a 14-team league, then you just have to take 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion. Unless people just don't take 2 quarterbacks, which a majority of the time is not the case. So here, we're looking at quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow. Coin flip here. The safer option is Stafford. The riskier option is Burrow, but Burrow could provide more upside with his legs. Either way here is the correct answer, in my opinion. Let me know down below in the comments. If you're sitting here, would you take Burrow or Matthew Stafford? I already have Robert Woods, so we're going to go with Stafford to get those double points when they connect on a beautiful touchdown. So we're back up on the board there after getting Stafford. Looking at receivers, Sterling Shepard, Nelson Aguilar, Jalen Reagor, Rondale Moore, Terrence Marshall. Looking at tight end, we already have Mark Andrews, so it's a similar case, right? We reached up early on. Not even a reach, but early on in the draft, we went ahead and we selected Mark Andrews. So why would I take a backup tight end? Because besides week 8, regardless of the matchup, I'm never going to play that tight end. So there's no need to draft another tight end. So looking at our team right now, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs, 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. So our final bench spot should be a running back and a wide receiver. First up here, we're going to go ahead and get James White. I do like Damian Harris a lot, but I do recognize that with Mac Jones under center now, there's a higher chance of dump-offs going the way to the running back, and I think James White has really solidified himself as the clear number 2 back on the team that could be seeing a lot of receiving value in New England. He was a guy that I was all on board for last year. He was a complete miss. I'll admit it, didn't play very good last year, but that was with Cam. Now we're with Mac Jones. I think things could look slightly better this season, or not even slightly better, way better this season. After I went with James White came Joe Burrow, Gerald Everett, J.D. McKisson-Titties, Sterling Shepard, 49ers defense, Giovanni Bernard, Rashad Penny, Carlos Hyde, Tampa Bay Bucks defense, Malcolm Brown. I don't agree with taking Malcolm Brown over Salvon Ahmed. I think Ahmed is the handcuff for Myles Gaskin as a Dolphins fan. After that, Baltimore Ravens, Tevin Coleman, Jalen Reagor, Ty Johnson, Matt Ryan, Latavius Murray, Darrington Evans, Darrell Williams, Marlon Mack, the return of the Mac, what it is, what it is, what it is, what it isn't, Trevor Lawrence, Tariq Cohen, and Denver Broncos defense, which is the defense I was looking for at that point, which sucks because I like to draft I'm going to explain the defenses, but I like to draft my defense to play a shit opponent week 1. Shit offense week 1, not a shit opponent, right? Because the opponent could be bad because their defense is bad. I'm talking more about their offense being bad. We get a lot of sacks, we get some picks, we get some fumbles, we get a low-scoring game, and that ups the opportunity of the defense, which is very, very nice for your fantasy football team. So here, we're going to look wide receiver, and I think we're going to just go with the upside shot that Bryan Edwards potentially is the lead receiver in Las Vegas. They cut John Brown, so maybe it is truly Bryan Edwards' season, even if I did not believe at all that that's what was going to happen. So here, we're going to go ahead and get our kicker and get my boy Justin Tucker, the fucker of the Baltimore Ravens. It's so funny how so many people talk about, I don't know why it thinks I clicked on Mac Jones, but it's funny how so many people think that in fantasy, oh, when you draft a kicker, you need them to be on an offense that's good but not good enough to score. Then why is Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker on two of the best teams in the NFL always getting drafted as the first two kickers? Makes you think. Makes you really think. So we're going to go with Justin Tucker, the fucker here of the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe he won't finish as the #1 kicker, but he'll probably finish inside the top 3. If he finished outside the top 3, I would be shocked. After I went with Justin Tucker, the fucker, came Emmanuel Sanders, Harrison Butker, the fucker, Indianapolis Colts, I kiss my cousins, Kirk Cousins, Nelson Aguilar, my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku, the New England Deflatriots, Rashad Bateman, I apologize, Boston Scott, Ryan Fitzmagic, Baker Mayfield, Greg the Leg Zerline, Jason Sanders, Robbie Gould, Tyler Bass Pro Shop, Rodrigo, you sunk my blankenship, the Buffalo Bills, Matt Prater, Jason Myers, Ryan Suckup, Kansas City defense, and Michael Badgley, who got cut. Don't draft kickers that are not on teams. Final pick here, we're going to go ahead and go with my Miami Dolphins defense. Just kidding, because we're playing the Patriots week 1. I think we might be able to muck it up a little with Mac Jones, but I don't think this is going to be some type of must-stream defense. I'd rather go with the Carolina Panthers here, playing up against the Jumbo Jets. The Panthers have a solid defense. The Jets' first game for Mr. Zach Wilson. So, you know, maybe the rookie jitters get to him. Maybe the same thing happens with Mac Jones, though, up against the Miami Dolphins, up against his big brother, Tua Tagovailoa. So, the draft has been complete. Our team is quarterback Matthew Stafford, running backs Najee Harris and Austin Eckler, receivers are Amari Cooper and Roberto Woods, tight end is Mark Andrews, our flex is Myles Gaskin, defense and kicker are the Carolina Panthers and Justin Tucker, the fucker. The bench is comprised of Corey Davis, Devonta Smith, Michael Carter, Naheem Hines, James White, and Bryan Edwards. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video. I hope you did end up enjoying. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, and make sure that you follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. I love each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.